Hey, this next part is really about camp discipline, and that's an important part. And if you get this right, then it makes it a whole lot easier. And so I'm just going to run through a number of different things. Firstly, it's important to set good standards at the beginning of the week. And don't have double standards for yourself. You do behave one particular way, but expect the kids to behave a different way. So that's really important. And do be firm with the kids on the things that you want the kids to do. So, the kids are going to test you on this stuff, so it's really important that you sort of stick to that, and you better be firm at the beginning and at the end. Maybe as a cabin you could work together on some, camp rules, have a bit of, fun with the kids and be their friend, but don't always be seen to be negative, and try to reward the, good behaviour rather than always focusing on the bad behaviour, and really punishments should be a last resort. You don't want to just kick straight into punishment. You're better to focus on the good behaviour first. But dealing with behaviours, hey, it's hard if you haven't worked with kids before, to know what to do. So here's a few just ways to make it work. So, like I was saying before, be firm at the beginning and set the expectations right at the beginning of camp. Make sure that the kids do know what's expected, because if they do something and they didn't actually know it was that they shouldn't have done it, then that's not fair to actually punish them for something like that. So it's really important that they know what's expected. Be fair and consistent when dealing with behaviour. If you're tired, don't be overly harsh with the kids. And if you're working with different kids, if you have one punishment for one and the other kid's done the same thing, then it should be the same punishment. So you shouldn't favour kids with punishments. Ask yourself, is this the first time the child has done this negative behaviour, or is this like a reoccurring thing? And if it's a first time thing, then you may be a little bit more lenient. But if it keeps happening, then obviously you've got to deal with it and more severely. Don't give out threats that you're not able to enforce or that are unreasonable. Say what you mean what you say. So you can't say, a kid swears, I'm going to send you home from camp, because we are the ones, the senior leaders, the ones who send kids home from camp. And if we don't think that's appropriate to send them home for that, then it's not a threat that you can actually carry out. So say what you mean what you say. Make sure the punishment matches the crime. Don't be too soft if it's a really bad thing, or don't be too harsh if it's not that bad. Never physically punish a child, okay? This is just not up to you. You can't do this. You can't physically punish a child. Never shout or confine or humiliate a child. It's pretty easy to do that sort of stuff, but you've just got to get to control, and that's not a way to deal with it. Always have another leader with you, or be in view of the other leaders and other children, other leaders anyway, when dealing with behaviour or punishing, bringing in punishments. And try and reward good behaviour rather than only punishing bad behaviour. They're just a few key basic things. Some appropriate punishments that you as a leader can implement, because sometimes it's hard to think of what to do. Firstly, talk to them about the inappropriate behaviour so that they know. And give them a warning if it's the first time, and then tell them what is expected. Get them to apologise to the victim or the person that's been hurt, if that seems appropriate. You could remove a privilege. Maybe they miss out on participating in a particular activity, but don't be overly harsh and say you're not going to do any activities for the entire day, because again, that's just not appropriate. It'll actually cause more problems to do that sort of thing. Where the issue is between two children, a really easy way to deal with it is just to separate them. Move them, sit between them, or whatever it is. If it's a verbal issue, then you could try, hey, you're on silence for 5 minutes. I don't want to hear anything from you for the next 5 minutes, because your mouth's out of control. You just need to get some control. You could give them a duty, such as picking up rubbish or clearing the dishes at meal times, but don't give them a duty that you can't supervise them on, because they have to remain in your care the entire time. You can't send them, hey, you're going to pick up rubbish all around camp, and then leave them to it, because you've got to stick with them. You could get them to sit in a particular spot for a period of time, we call timeout. And yeah, reflecting on their behaviour, maybe for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it is. Or you could, the other way to do it is to divert their behaviour by trying to focus the child on something else that is positive. There are some inappropriate punishments, and I'll just mention these because you just need to know that, hey, you just can't do this sort of stuff. Some of it we've already talked about, but physical punishment of any sort, that's, hitting or pinching or slapping or kicking or headlock or things like that, that's just not cool. You just can't do it. You're not allowed to do that sort of stuff. Shouting or abusive language, it's just, you can't do it. That's inappropriate. You can't isolate a child in a room on their own. Okay, that is, we just can't do that either. Humiliation, don't use humiliation as a form of punishment. Really important to keep that in mind when you're choosing appropriate punishments. And you can't do like interrogation type punishments, like, hey, you've because of you done that, you go and stand over in that corner and face the wall, and I don't want you to turn, you just to look at that wall for the next 10 minutes. That's just not cool either, right? That's interrogation type sort of stuff, and we just don't do that sort of thing. It's just not appropriate. And hey, if the child doesn't respond to your punishments or behaviour, or the behaviour is severe or potentially harmful, then bring the child to a senior leader to deal with it. You don't have to deal with those real hard ones, but all those little ones, hey, you guys can do it. I'm sure you can. So that's really that part. So yeah, discipline